Hey, what's going on, everyone? We're back with another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast all about movies with a Z. The next episode is the fan voted movie. So if you want to stick around to the end of the podcast, we will reveal the movie that won. But we still want your recommendations, so keep bringing them in. You can either whoops. You can either... Oh god, I've messed up my flow now. You can either post a comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks with a Z, or if you want to email us at ff.filmfreakswithaz@gmail.com. Alright, without further ado, let's introduce ourselves. Of course, I am Yemmy the Ferret, aka Yemmy. Who am I here with?
Hello, it's Grady Waffle.
And Taymation.
And Coco Gamer.
Oh, what is up, everyone?
No, not much. Not much.
Happy August, everyone.
Yes,
No,
happy August.
Yeah, it's so weird. Why is it August already?
Summer's flying by.
2020 is almost over.
Well, that'll be
That's
nice.
one way to
Almost
look
is a
at
bit
it.
of a stretch, but it's getting there.
It's
That's
a couple
one way to
months.
look
Well, let's do kind of what this movie portrayed, where everyone was kind of inside, right, throughout most of the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Coco, introduce the movie to us.
Alright. The movie we are reviewing is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It came out in 1984. The synopsis of the film is: in 1935, Indiana Jones arrives in India, still part of the British Empire, and is asked to find a mystical stone. He then stumbles upon a secret cult committing enslavement and human sacrifices in the catacombs of an ancient palace. Director was Steven Spielberg, and some of the actors was, of course, Harrison Ford, Kate Caswell, Ki Hung Kwan, Amish Pero, and Rose and Seth. So I want to dive right into to conversation, saying I was kind of confused on what they were trying to do with the first scene. I was like, are they trying to set up a character, or are they trying to set up the time when this was at?
I think a little of both. I mean, they were introducing us to Willie, who is a singer. For some reason, an American singer in Shanghai.
Yes.
I guess she'd be a novelty, so I guess that's why they'd get her.
Yeah.
But also, setting, because those type of shows were big in the 30s and probably 40s too. I don't know when those kind of shows fell out
Yeah, me neither.
popularity.
Yeah, I don't know if it did a great job of opening the film, though.
Oh, I agree
yeah.
with that. I agree with that.
Like, I know it's like tough to top, the original Indiana Jones movie's opening,
Mhm.
but when you're doing a sequel, or I guess technically prequel like this one, you think you want to have as big of an opening as, Raiders of the Lost Ark, but instead it's like, okay, we're watching a musical number, then they're talking. It's kind of like it's almost like, I don't know, I got James
James
Bond's
Bond? Yeah, I
Yes,
can see that
that's
from it.
James Bond feels definitely.
Thing is, like, in the next movie, we'll jump ahead, I guess, to the next movie for a second here. Next movie, I loved the opening of The Last Crusade, where we got that flashback of Indy as a kid. And so it just seems weird. As a prequel, we don't get that flashback at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, definitely.
Well, at first I was like, oh, it's one of those movies where it's just like they're doing something while they're reading the credits. Or not the credits, the opening.
Yeah.
Well, they're
Opening.
still credits, even if
Yeah,
they're
opening credits.
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, it's one of those where, you have some background music or you have some, people dancing. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're at a dinner table. I'm like, oh. I guess I got a little distracted. I was like, oh, it's one of those, opening scenes. I was like on my phone, like getting settled in with the movie. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's poisoned. I'm like, oh, shoot, what did I miss?
I just felt like the whole sequence of events were kind of lame,
Mhm.
and I think that they really should have done a better job with it. Like, you could keep the same setting. No, actually, no, don't keep the same setting. Fuck that. put him doing an archaeological finding that vase that the guy wanted. Whether it was real or fake, we don't know because they don't really expand on that ever in the rest of the movie. But have him like finding that in like the bowels of a cave somewhere in China or something like that, instead of it being here we are at a dinner scene, wee woo. Oh, it just doesn't seem. I don't know. It seems very detached, if that's the right word, from the rest of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess it sets up for them getting on the plane and flying over India and crashing. But there definitely could have been a better way for them to have done that.
I don't understand why Willie had to go with them after the antidote was given to Indy. She could have just been left there. And I really wish they would have. I don't know about you guys, but Willie almost ruined this movie entirely for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I got. I mean, if I had to hear her scream for another 5 minutes, I probably would have freaking, thrown something at my TV. I mean, this is a whole nother part of the movie I want to talk about. But the sound effects in this movie and like this her screaming, I was just like, oh my god, shut up.
Well, that scene
like I felt like.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Well,
that scene where all the animals are popping up and she's just screaming at every single one. It's like, please. Thank God I'm not wearing headphones, but please just stop this.
That scene though, like I loved Short Round and Indy's like reaction where like there was no reaction. They just kept playing their game and just ignored her. And I was like, oh man, I wish I could ignore her that well.
It's hard to do when it's like the loudest thing in the freaking movie.
It was just a high pitched scream, like it overcomped everything else, and it was just like, oh my god, I couldn't. And I wasn't listening with headphones on, but that's literally all I could hear is just the high pitched scream.
It reminded me of like old like horror films from like the 40s, 50s, where they just got women. Their only point in the movie was just to react and scream.
That's pretty much all she really did throughout the whole movie, really.
It is.
Oh, yeah, basically.
And since we're on this topic, I guess we might as well go to the sound effects. I felt like the sound effects were a little overused, too. Like, the sound effects as in, like, leading up to something, like the music or, like the dang, dang. It was just like, okay, we don't need it. The kid is literally... walking to a zombie or like a skeleton. We don't need the sudden drawn out, scary music, I guess, or I don't know. What you guys think?
Well, I in the terms of like actual sound effects, they did use the Wilhelm scream twice in this movie. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like, okay, usually it's like a one-time thing. It's kind of like the, hey, it's the Wilhelm scream of the movie, kind of like in Star Wars. But in this one, it's like, hey, let's do it twice. It's like, okay.
I
guess the first time wasn't good enough. They had to do it again.
Yeah, I noticed the sound, or I guess it was more the soundtrack music. Like it was all
basic.
Like especially going back. Well, not honestly basic, but like it was really trying to set the mood. So like, there's that one scene where she sees all the bats, and she's like, "Oh, look at those birds!" And immediately Indy's like, "Oh, those aren't birds; they're bats." And then she looks up again. It's like the same, almost the same scene, but the music like went from happy, serene to immediately like dun dun dun, like creepy, like oh no, they're creepy bats. Which that was a little over the top for me, but
that's one thing I want to talk about. They showed the bats like 5 times. I'm like, we get it. There's bats around.
And they didn't really have any importance either.
Yeah. It's not like they did anything to him. It's like, oh, there's bats here. I was like, so?
Well, even when going back to that jungle scene where she grabs the bat, like, I don't even know if she grabbed it, because at first it was there and then all of a sudden it's gone. Like,
yes.
the way, I guess it was just the way they portrayed it. Like, she was holding it and then all of a sudden, like, she's back to where Harrison Ford was, and I'm like, well,
I think
what happened? Like, what happened?
Holding it. Yeah, she was holding it by the wings, and then she let it go, and it flew away. Because, contrary to the name, vampire bats don't attack people.
Yes.
Unless they have Dracula in the name.
Yeah. It was more scared of her than she was of it. And second, she let it go. It was like, I'm out.
I did like the scene where she thinks that the snake is the elephant's trunk. And
Yeah.
obviously, it's already established that Indiana is afraid of snakes,
Yeah,
but
I liked
Yeah.
it.
I just
That was
liked how
good.
she just brushed it off like, oh, it's the elephant's trunk. She just throws it away. I thought that was a clever scene. A
It
clever
was.
scene that was after so much annoyances that maybe I was just gonna laugh at anything at that point.
And
No,
the elephant was
it was
cute,
pretty
and I'm like, why are you being so rude to this cute elephant?
That also leads me to the chemistry between Willie and Indiana is abysmal. And
Mhm.
there is no reason that these two people should ever fall in love, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, she hates the outdoors, she hates Indiana Jones, maybe love hates him.
Mhm.
She's constantly blaming him for everything. He's getting her in these weird situations. He brought her out of Shanghai, yet in the middle of the movie, which I think during the scene the movie got the rest of the movie got a lot better in my eyes. But in the middle of the movie, they just randomly start kissing, and they're like, "Oh, well, I guess we're into each other now." I don't know. It just they didn't have the same chemistry as like Indiana and the woman in the first movie did, or even in the I was about to say Crystal Skull, but I don't think I want to say
I think
that.
it was Moscow City. Mhm.
Well, I was gonna bring up that I feel like they pushed a lot of things onto you in this movie, and
Oh, greedy. Hello.
you there?
Oh,
I
you've
think
been cut.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
cut
you
Yeah,
out.
cut
you cut
out
out.
like halfway through your sentence. So,
All right, restart. Yemmy, start after. Forget.
take it.
Just take it from the beginning.
Hey, here we go. So yeah, I want to say like I feel like they push things onto you because I don't feel like this is if you're like not into the Indiana Jones series, you're not going to pick up on a lot of things. So this is not a good starter movie for like I've never seen Indiana Jones. Let's watch this one because I feel like they pushed a lot of like stuff on there that you like a different viewer might not see or a
Yeah, exactly.
non-viewer might not see or pick up on.
Yeah, they should definitely stop Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like this was like say it was Temple of Doom was a classic movie. I would say that, but it's not it's not one like a great Indiana Jones movie.
I think that it's called a classic because of the last half of this movie. Like from the middle
Yeah.
of Act 2 to the end, it's like, yeah, that I can see how it's a classic now because it's just like you go from, Indiana Jones almost being choked out in the bedroom, which is a great scene, to, them discovering the Temple of Doom and,
Mhm.
everything that's going on there with the cult, and then
Yeah.
things just go so fast towards at the end of the movie, and it's a really nice pace, it's a steady pace, and I really
Yeah.
like everything that literally happens from the middle of Act 2 to the end of the movie, because I love the minecart scenes, I love the
Oh,
freeing of the kids, I love the fight scene between Indiana and the bearded guy. It kind of goes back to the first movie there a little bit. I enjoyed so much of the second half of this movie that it really makes the first half of the movie seem so much worse in my eyes.
Yeah.
So
I
the
agree with
last
that.
25 minutes of the movie.
Well,
Nah, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, 45.
Act 2 kind of started at like probably about
Actually-
the maybe 45-minute mark, and then like
No, because at 45-minute mark, because I broke this up into two halves so I could sleep in between. At 45-minute mark, which is halfway, that's the point where Indy has been captured. Like,
Okay.
right before they make him drink the blood.
So maybe
Yeah,
it
around
is
that
kind of
mark.
more like the 30-minute mark where things like started like actually feeling like an Indiana Jones movie and not
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
a messed up. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Messed
Yeah, I
up
know
James
what you're
Bond film.
But I did find it really. I don't know if it was creepy or odd how Willie was treated in the movie. Like even like, just like how Indiana was like creeping on her
Mhm.
in that middle section with the sex scene. Well, not really. It wasn't really a sex scene, but I don't know. It felt off through the movie, especially because, like I said, they had no chemistry throughout the first half of it, and it just seems really weird.
Well,
Very
that just
much.
tells you how times have changed. Nowadays, yeah, that would have been creepy, and this movie wouldn't have been made. But back then, that was pretty normal.
Or it's different time. So it's point. especially since it's rated PG, and there's definitely a lot of things that would seem like, I don't think it's PG.
Well, back when this movie came out, I don't think they had PG-13 yet.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But it would probably definitely be a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Especially with just the visuals of, like, you know, reaching into the chest and pulling out the guy's beating heart and stuff like that. That would probably raise it up to that PG-13 anyways. So, yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm here. I ran out of things to say, and I didn't want to be
Oh,
It's fine.
that was a bad spot then.
Yeah.
I know. I
Just
felt it. I felt that one.
So I have a few things I want to point on, but since we kind of talked about the minecart scene and how great it is, because I really enjoy the minecart scene.
Oh yeah.
But there is one thing in it that bugged me. So at one point, Indy goes right. Instead of, but not talking about the beginning where he should have gone left. There's one point where he goes right, and there's like all these signs like danger, danger, don't take this track, and it's literally just a exact track of the left side. Like they just run parallel and then come back together. I'm like, why? What was dangerous about this track? Why was that sign there that says danger, danger?
Yeah, because you're right. Because after they conjoin, that's when there's a break in the track. It's not like before that part.
Yeah.
Danger! There's nothing here. It's coming later.
Also, it was really obvious when they were doing a miniature at the minecart part, because you can see how they have like a doll as Indiana Jones and Short Round and Willie. You can literally see when they're stiff as a board and they're just dolls in the cart. And I find that really it's
what?
It's interesting. No, it's more so interesting. Just how they were able to get like this shot or that shot. The thing that really bugged me about the movie, though, is the green screen effects have not aged well at all. Like those
looked amazing in '84.
Well, the thing is, the minecart thing it's cutesy, right? It it's funny, but the green screen stuff is just abysmal at some points.
Yeah,
unforgivable. Maybe for the time it was great, but
no. But the thing is, like at that time, how they had to do the green screen. Like, it's not like nowadays where you just go in and be like, all right, with the color picker, it's like, key out this color. Like, they had to do that by hand.
Mm-hmm.
Actually mat out the image they want to keep, frame by frame. And it was definitely an ordeal. So, I'll give them a little slack on that, because,
Yeah, that's what I agree with, too. Like, because in 1984, they didn't really have too much CGI technology.
No CGI.
Yeah, basically.
Practical effects and green screen. That was
that's true. Yeah.
There was the one part where the water was rushing at them, and you could literally see like the outline of the green screen around them as they were going off screen or whatever like that. Yeah. And then also when the water was gushing out the side of the mountain, that's where you could also see, like, you could really tell there too, because there was like a hue of green around every single person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So another thing, that water scene, that was the other thing that kind of bugged me about the minecart scene. I guess they're linked. Is there was not enough water for it to continuously just like it would have like that part where the track split. It was like cavernous and it lava. The water would have all ended up in there. It would not have continued forward.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no way have they have that enough water, like, because they had that in that smaller canister. How come it couldn't have like just blown up over the water pressure of it?
Yeah.
I also don't understand how the water was coming out of like the sides of the mountain that weren't mined.
Yeah. So those were like the two things that kind of slightly took me out. Like I said, I was enjoying it, but I was just like, that water does not make sense. And now I'm loud out of this, and now I'm like, and now I'm noticing this green screen.
So like, sorry to go like a little back, but I would just say, like, when they said, "Oh," it's like, "Oh, you were poisoned." That poison took like forever. Yeah. And it didn't really look like it was actually killing him, because he could do basically everything. He's like, "Oh, he's sweating." He's like, he's not really doing much. That poison sucks.
The only thing the poison did is it makes you sweat. That was it. They're like, it worked. We made him moist.
What made it worse is the villain was like, "Oh, you're gonna die in seconds," and then
Here's
never
the
died.
antidote.
He's like, "Here's the antidote. Good luck." And then he's like able to, go scatter throughout the ballroom, and then he's able to fall 50 feet, onto the I don't know what you want to call it, the awnings or whatever. Yeah, and then he's able to drop down into the car, and then he's able to tussle with Willie. And it's like, oh, come on.
That poison must have affected him through the whole movie, though, because he was pretty sweaty the entire movie.
Oh, I didn't even look at that.
Yeah.
Things Yemmy are seeing.
I saw it.
When you have chiseled abs like Harrison Ford did back then, they're gonna sweat profusely. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
So the other thing that I kind of don't want to talk about, I guess, was the dinner scene. So like for me, like I was watching this, I was like, they brought out these snakes filled with snakes and monkey brains and stupid with eyeballs, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like nobody would eat this, especially in India. It's like they're most, they like. So I actually looked it up, and I was like, this is kind of bugging me. So I looked up like what kind of food did the Indian people of India eat in 1935? Why is this? Turns out there's a lot of articles about it. So the thugger, or I think they're called thuggies or whatever.
Yeah.
So most Indians apparently are, they'll eat like vegetarian diet and things like that. But the thuggies were different. They eat a lot of meat, and so it's a little accurate. And that was kind of, I guess, supposed to be a clue to Indy that's like, yeah, these people are not who they say they are.
Okay.
I can understand like a snake, because it seems like snakes are actually pretty common around that part.
Monkeys are too.
Yeah. Beetles and stuff, and like.
So I don't know if the cuisine they picked is actually accurate, but
yeah,
exactly. Eat meat and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet you guys can guess that this is one of those scenes that when I was a kid freaked me out.
Oh yeah,
I bet. Yeah,
especially with the monkey brains, like they just put them right in front of them, and then the one guy eats the monkey. It's like, oh.
I'm like, oh.
I don't know. I think the scene where the bugs, where Harrison Ford and the kid get trapped into the with the spikes, and all those bugs are around, and like she has to. I think that creeped me out more than the snake part, and the monkey.
Actually, didn't creep me out. Well, I was kidding. The part that creeped me
iron spine.
No, the part that creeped me out was that heart part when I was younger. That really scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Well, I say that this is like a pseudo horror film at some points because with the visuals and the bugs are probably the worst part of the movie. I remember as a kid like being afraid to stick my hand into, like those just places that you don't know what's in there, and it was a phobia of mine for a long time. But those bugs were like really. There were a lot of them, and they were freaking creepy.
Now Yemmy loves to put his hands into places where he doesn't know what's in there.
Actually, I refrain from that at all times still. It's scarred.
That's good. As you should.
Yeah, right. But I think that, just to talk about that scene for a little bit, I think that was probably one of the most Indiana Jones parts of this movie was the spike trap and the bugs and stuff like that. Yeah. Because you think back to like the first movie and even the third movie, it felt the most Indiana Jones out of all the scenes. Even though, like I said already, the last half of the movie is my favorite part of this movie. This is where it really started to feel like an Indiana Jones movie.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I was gonna say that he actually took the words right out of me. I was like, I mean, it felt this movie didn't feel Indiana Jones at all. It felt more like staged, if that makes sense, like stage, scenes. And like the most Indiana Jones was like that whole part where he saw the skeletons and the dead body, and that's another part where the girl was like, "Oh my god, dead people!" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, well we're dying, so can you help us?" And she's like, "Oh my god, skeletons!" It's like, "Oh my god, shut up!"
Oh my god, oh my god! It's like, can you just stop?
But yeah, it just that part, like the whole part, even when they in the middle of the movie where he gets captured and he's like possessed, whatever. It just even that didn't feel Indiana Jones. Like this whole movie to me did not feel Indiana Jones. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know if the whole movie. I mean, like I said, I think that the second half felt more Indiana Jones than the first half. But I do see your point where it was kind of. I mean, obviously, it was meant to freak people out, but it did seem like a little bit of a departure from what you're used to from the other ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I mean, this before Crystal Skull came out, this was always my least favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean, I in my opinion, nothing beats Raiders of the Lost Ark, but Last Crusade gets close because they went back to like that whole like, the Indiana Jones feel to the whole movie instead of it just being like, pieces and parts,
Yeah.
So Last Crusade was always my favorite.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Last Crusade, and I guess Lost Ark. Definitely my
and Lost
top
Ark.
two.
Yeah, Lost Ark definitely really good. And just slightly below Last Crusade. I think the whole reason I liked Last Crusade more was because Sean Connery.
Probably.
Dang it! I had something I was gonna say, but I totally forgot about it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Sean Connery.
Hey guys, go ahead. I'm pretty sure it'll come back to me.
I had a question. When Willie is inside the cage, why don't they tear out her heart?
Oh yeah.
It's because they showed that whole scene of the random dude getting his heart torn out, but when it's Willie's turn, they're like, nah, we won't do it on this one.
She has boobies.
It's like, no, we can't. I'm not sure if they just didn't need a heart or something, but because she said he went to do it, but then stopped. I'm like, oh, yeah. I was like, are you going to explain why? He's like, nope.
Yeah, it really needed like at least some explanation as to why they didn't do it.
I thought like he was going to tell Indiana Jones to do it, so I was seeing him come over, but then he just pointed around. I'm like, okay, this movie's not explaining.
Yeah. I felt like that's so odd, especially because they made a point to show like this is what they do, this is the ritual. Yeah. If they had two people there and one of them didn't get their heart torn out, but the other one did, then it would make a little bit of more sense.
See, that whole scene to me, like I was noticing, it felt like there was like because they were probably trying to hit the time of like an hour and a half or whatever, and I felt like that scene alone was actually there was a lot of stuff cut out of it. Because like there's one part where like it cuts to like her falling slowly, and then first you see Short Round approaching, then it cuts to her falling, and then suddenly everybody's like reacted that Short Round's like smacked some people. You can see like them reacting, but you didn't actually see it happen, and she's like stopped, and you're like, but I guess Short Round did it, but how did he do it?
Yeah, the world may never know.
It seemed like every time like she stopped, it seemed like she was further away than when she actually was.
Oh, definitely. Even with like the rock roller scene, like Indiana Jones was way closer to that roller, and then they would just cut and they would cut back. Same thing with that, with Willie in the cage. Like obviously she was falling fast enough where like a few seconds go by and she's toast. And
yeah.
But then wait, they stopped it right above the pit. But wouldn't she be like burned or
like burning?
Yeah, she'd still burn.
Because that dude who was being lowered in the first time was like on fire before he got into the pit.
Yeah. Willie has
no,
fire resistance.
Don't even try to explain.
No, I was gonna say it's because she's one of the main characters. She's got main character.
Oh, she's the main character. We can't kill her yet.
Yet? I don't think they ever did.
Yeah.
They did. I know, that's why she wasn't in Last Crusade.
Oh, that's
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Either. They both take place after.
I wanted to mention, that scene when they plane crashed and they jumped out. And it's like, oh, we ran on this mountain. When they ran, there was no way they could have survived that fall. From the one from the plane to the mountain, and two to the mountain to the water.
Well, suppose they were like, oh, the raft slowed them down, but then I believe MythBusters actually did that myth to see if it would, and it did not. So
I was just going to bring that up because that's one of the episodes I watched after watching the movie. I wanted to make sure that that is definitely impossible, and yes. It is completely impossible. I think they even tried to make it into a parachute, and it still didn't work.
No.
See, that's the thing. I was actually thinking of that MythBusters episode. Like, I thought, I'm like, oh, they're gonna use it as a parachute, and they didn't. I was like, what was I thinking of?
Yeah.
I'm smart.
I had just totally forgotten about that raft scene until Coco brought it up because it was like just so unmemorable. And it was just so stupid. It was just a way for them to get into India and have them meet that Indian
guy.
dude. Yeah,
it's the it's that scene is the I can't even talk.
Fridge.
That's
the fridge.
refrigerated scene from Crystal Skull.
pretty much.
Those scenes are very similar. You're just like, what?
But the raft wasn't lead lined, so that's the main difference there.
But it's air filled, so it goes down further,
You're
it goes
right.
down slower.
Yeah.
And then I also say it's like, oh, it's like I think they tried to like justify. It's like, oh, they were brought to us. I'm like, that's still one made them survive.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring like you can bring them to you, but they're gonna be pancaked. They might be a little dead.
Nothing wrong with pancakes.
I like
Says the waffle.
Yeah.
Hey,
Peace
pancakes
and
are
harmony.
his cousins. Okay?
Yeah, peace and harmony, right?
Yes.
In the breakfast food, whatever.
Ever.
They're related.
You guys want
Anything else?
Yeah, you want to talk about the bridge scene?
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yeah, actually.
What do you got, Coco?
Personally, I did kind of enjoy that scene because I know, like, other than the crocodiles, because they had the same exact like scene they did every time they fell. But I kind of enjoyed that scene because it was somewhat accurate, even though because it seemed like the rope was not actually very sturdy, but it does seem like the bridge seemed enough that it could carry people across, but the rope seems, I guess, sturdy enough. But it probably caused a way more pain than they showed on before, from getting chopped and slammed into a wall.
I don't know. I felt like they used the same scene for the alligators eating the enemies, like over and over again.
Oh yeah, that's what I said.
Like,
Over
how
and
many
over.
times? How many times did I have to see the same alligator rolling over the other alligators? It's like, come on.
I think that they had like one good shot of like a death roll from an alligator, and they were like, "Well, I guess we gotta redo that one a few times because they're not doing anything else otherwise."
Could have just showed it once, and we was like, "Oh, kind of get the idea."
Yeah.
I actually thought it was like when they first show the alligators, before they start eating people. I'm like, okay, random stock footage, and then when they actually had the clothes of the guys, I was like, I guess it's not stock footage. But yeah, it was all just. It's like we've got one good shot. We're gonna use it.
Mm-hmm. Also, I really like the callback to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because when he goes to fight, the two sword guys are in front of him. He reaches for a pistol just to
Oh yeah.
It's a callback, but also at the same time, it's a prequel movie.
I was about to say it doesn't make any sense in the scheme of things because technically Indiana Jones hasn't even
done that yet.
It just shows that he does that a lot. He's always being threatened by people with swords, and he's like, "Guys, we have guns now.
Yeah.
Stop bringing your swords to a gunfight."
It's like in the boat. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I also like the callback because he also starts to run one way, then he runs the other way, frightened because there's like a ton of guys coming. That was another callback to. It was almost a callback to Star Wars too at that point.
Yeah.
And I also believe that every single one of those enemy troops were the worst shots ever.
Yeah.
I know they're using bows and arrows, but dang, if those arrows didn't just perfectly go around Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Right. The thing is, like, these guys have bows, and if you have a bow, you get pretty good with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Archers are really good. And
they did have guns too.
Dead.
In the caves, they had guns. Where's the guns? Like, all you need is one rifle and a guy with a steady arm, and you got him.
Right? Well, and that's the thing. Is like they kept shooting like so close to him. It's like, oh, I hit the railing of like it would have hit him if it wasn't for that railing. It's like, Man, where were you aiming then?
I don't know. I mean, it might be a hot take, but I'd rather have a bow than those guns that the British were using, like those.
It sucked.
Yeah, like
Well,
they weren't any better either.
the British people, when the Brits came, they were using like Lee Enfields, and they were killing the dudes. Like it's not like
I
they
killed
weren't.
some of them, but it seemed like
Between those two factions, who had the most kills? The British guys.
yeah,
And they were in the movie for like 2 seconds. They killed like 10 enemies.
The archers went up, ready to surrender because they realized, hey, we're not good. We just were given these today. We don't know how to use them. Clearly.
And why did you guys give him bow and arrows? It's like, all right, just randomly fire. We're just gonna. It's like, well, there's no one near him. Who cares?
Especially when they had guns earlier. It's like, oh, we're out of ammo. I guess we could try these bow and arrows. Does anyone know how to shoot a bow and arrow?
No.
Not really. Well, let's give it a try anyways.
There's the one person who's a marksman, but he was on coffee break, so.
Yeah. Why do we have all these bow and arrows here? Well, Steve really likes bow and arrows. But where's Steve? He's on coffee break.
Dang.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else have anything else they want to say about Temple of Doom?
Oh, what you guys think of the kid?
Short Rams?
Short Rams.
I thought he was a good sidekick.
Yeah. I like Short Ram for the most part.
He actually he had pretty good he was a pretty good actor in this movie, surprisingly. He was really.
Yeah, besides from one thing here or there, I think that he did a good job acting, and also a good job with the fighting and stuff like that too. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, the kid's strong.
and he wasn't annoying. He wasn't annoying like Willie.
Yes, exactly.
But I don't think he was as annoying as like a good amount of kid actors who are sidekicks to characters either.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned fighting, which actually
put another thing into my mind that was kind of bugging me. A lot of the fighting in this movie, like, looked very, very staged. Like, a lot of times it didn't look natural.
Like the guy hanging himself in the fan.
Well, not just that, because that fan wouldn't be powerful enough to do that. But
yes, exactly.
Well, yeah. I think the whole choking scene looked good until that part where he got hung in the fan.
Yeah. No, like usually it was like the stuff with Indy, I think, was pretty good. But it was when anyone else was fighting. I mean, obviously all the fights are staged. But Harrison Ford, I think, is a good job at making it look natural, while no one else was. Yeah. Like anytime Willie did something, you're just like, I mean, that looked like you tapped them and they went flying 10 feet for some reason.
We're actually giving credit. One thing for say one thing though. It's just that Harrison Ford has a lot more experience with this type of stuff.
For sure.
So, and I just, like I said, it was more just like, kind of took me out a few times where I was like,
I get
didn't
that.
look real at all. But and I think there was one time Willie slapped somebody and it was a punch sound effect. But yeah, and all right, that's all I wanted to just throw that in there.
Yeah, I think I do agree that the fighting was not as well choreographed as other movies from the same series.
Yeah.
I did like some of the shots though, like when Indiana was fighting, and it like he was like fighting. I think was he fighting the big bearded dude, and Short Round was fighting the kid, and I liked how it was like it had them both in the frame and they were kind of doing the same moves because he's trained by Indiana Jones. I thought that was a really nice little scene there.
Yeah. What for the Ark of the Covenant? What year does that one take place in? I can't remember.
I think it's in the 40s. Hold on, we can look it up.
Yeah, I thought it was in the 40s, but yeah, I was just wondering how much time passed between the two and what happened to Short Round. Why don't we ever see Short Round again?
Ark of the Covenant.
That's the character they should bring back if they make another Indiana Jones movie. Is Short Round as an adult?
Oh yeah. Well, they are making another.
It's the late 1930s. Is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and this one was 35, right?
Yeah, 35.
34.
Yeah, so like 5
35
or 4 years maybe.
Okay. I assume he just got to the point where he's like, "Hey, Dr. Jones, send me to school," and he's like, "All right."
Okay. And that's why we never see him again because he's in school.
Yeah. surprised. Harrison Ford's like really old, so I'm surprised. So I'm surprised if he
Ooh.
actually could get his do his last Indiana Jones movie.
I thought they were doing something where like it's going to follow Shia LaBeouf or
Chris Pratt.
just do a reboot where it's Chris Pratt.
True. Yep.
Here's an interesting thing. Raiders of the Lost Ark is like actually set in 1938. It's not just like a general timeline. It's actually set in 1938. So Raiders of the Lost Ark probably was a year or two before, like set in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I mean, what happened to Short Round and Willie is up in the air.
Yeah.
But no one cared. Like Short Round would be cool, but no one cared about Willie. They were just like, all right, well.
I almost think that like the actress who played Indiana's love interest in the first movie just couldn't be there for the second movie, which is why they changed things around. Because I think wasn't she in the third one?
She's not in the third one. She's in the fourth one.
Yeah, she is in the fourth. Yeah, that's right. Huh. So yeah, maybe she didn't show up. She didn't want to do it again, or something came up, and they were like, "Well, we can't do this idea we had." So, or maybe they switched out, Willie's character with her. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like the
third
latter.
Third one. The love interest is a Nazi spy.
Oops.
Oh yeah, I know. Forgot about that one.
So she dies. Spoilers.
Oh, spoilers day! Come on.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old movie.
Now for a while.
A movie that I haven't watched in years.
It's a good one. I haven't watched it in years
Yeah,
either.
definitely.
I think last time I watched it, I was probably like sometime between 18 and 20.
Mm.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
Anything else, gentlemen?
That's it for me.
All right, Coco, lead us off with your final review and score.
So my final review, I would say this movie did have some problems, like the green screen in some scenes. Some scenes didn't make any sense. Some like Willie's acting was pretty bad in this movie. Other than that, the second kind of around, I guess, made it almost to the end of the movie, I should say. The movie really picked up and it actually felt like it was supposed to be feeling like this entire movie. So I don't give, it's definitely a classic at the end, basically. I'll give this movie I'll give this movie a 4 out of 5.
Okay. I'll go next, I guess. I don't know. The beginning of the movie struggled. I felt like the best way to put it, very choppy. I felt like there was a lot of cuts and takes, if that makes sense. Like a lot of fresh takes, like, oh, that's the girl screaming, and then all of a sudden, other people are just sitting there. I don't know. I felt like the movie was a lot of different takes put into it, and I don't feel like it was edited very well. But it could be, me being so spoiled nowadays, and not my standards being so high. That also could be, a lot of take. I did like the minecart, and now that Yemmy put the green screen on there, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I can see it now. The whole scene where the lowering the cage and the whole lava thing. Now that I've heard your guys' opinion, and I don't want your guys' opinion being implemented on mine, but the whole I didn't think it felt right, and now that you guys are like, oh yeah, it didn't feel right, I can concur with it. But overall, I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't a lot of Indiana Jones, and it was a lot of a cash grab, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I'm gonna say this movie, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of what you say, Nick. I mean, the movie does feel very disjointed, especially in the first half compared to the second half. I will say that the second half of the movie really redeemed it in my eyes. I felt like that's the classic part of the movie, and a lot of people just kind of forget about the first part of the movie. because the first part of the movie is very forgettable. There's really nothing of substance in the first part until you get to that point where Indiana Jones is being attacked in his bedroom, and I really feel like that is when it became an Indiana Jones movie. But nothing before that felt like an Indiana Jones movie. Not even the setup to what was happening in the movie itself. Obviously, green screen effects were very shoddy at best. But I really enjoyed the Minecraft. I did Minecraft too, like
Minecraft.
I really liked the minecart scene, probably the best out of all the scenes in the movie, and it really just reminded me of like the Donkey Kong 64 stuff where they did with Diddy Kong.
Oh yes,
That was probably the reason why I like it so much, because I have so many fond memories of that. But I will say Willie almost ruined the movie entirely for me. I almost was like, her character improved a little bit towards the end, but throughout the whole movie she was just terrible. Obviously Harrison Ford did a great job, and also Short Round was a great character as well. I just wish that some things were different in this movie, and I wish that some things were explained a little bit more, and I just wish that it had more of that Indiana Jones charm that like the first and other movies have. So all in all, I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5.
All right. Yeah, I agree with a lot of everything you guys are saying. You know, it starts out kind of slow.
Doesn't quite feel like an Indiana Jones movie until almost a little before halfway through.
And I mean, it's still a fun movie. Yeah, the green screen stuff didn't quite hold up, but you know, it's like I said, it's from 1984. That was the best they could do. Well, it really wasn't. Star Wars did it a little better, I guess, and that was 70-something, 79. But overall, yeah, you know, it's still a pretty fun movie. So yeah, I'd give it a 3 out of 5 as well.
All right. Well, great job, guys. Good episode. We seem to be kind of in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
But I feel like Coco is a little bit higher than everyone in.
Yeah.
What?
Greedy's the lowest.
Greedy's a little bit harsher on the movie, but you know that's our opinion. So stick to it. We can't all be agreeance on every single movie.
Exactly.
I don't think have we ever been fully agreed on every movie, like where we gave it the same rating every time.
Yeah, we've been close.
Brightburn, I think.
I know we've been close. I know we've been in the ballpark where it's like, oh, it's just 3, 3.5, 3.5, 3 kind of thing. But have we ever all been like, that was a 5-star?
No,
not yet. We have.
Not yet.
Well, maybe with the next movie we can all be in agreement, because the fan vote is officially over, and you know what movie won? The Thing from 1982, which was directed by John Carpenter. Not the remake, the original The Thing movie. This one was actually suggested to us by Gaia Legend. I've already contacted him. He's not going to be able to come on to the podcast, but he is going to give us a few words of why he chose it, and he's going to give us a place to start the conversation from. So he'll still have a little bit of, stuff with the podcast. So what's this movie about? In remote Antarctica, a group of American research scientists are disturbed at their base camp by a helicopter shooting at a sled dog. I've read that weirdly, but you guys understand what I said.
Yes.
When they take in the dog, it brutally attacks both human beings and canines in the camp, and they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims. A resourceful helicopter pilot and the camp doctor lead the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against the vicious creature before it picks them all off one by one. This movie stars a young Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, T.K. Carter, David Clennon, Keith David, Richard Dysart, and Charles Hallahan, to name a few. Obviously, this is a classic in the horror community, and it is a low-budget film as well. So, but don't let that factor into your opinion on it, because I guess once you guys watch the movie, you'll see that it really doesn't look low-budget. But I don't want to talk too much about it right now. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Either,
but it's one of those. I'm really excited to revisit the movie, and what do you guys think?
Well, I think it's very suiting that Wilford Brimley's in it. It's in honor of him since he just passed yesterday, I believe.
That is right.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it'll be fun. Like I said, I'm just like Amy, I haven't seen this movie again since I was like 18, 20, somewhere around that line. So 15
I know,
years
it sounds
or so.
like Sounds like the movie's already spoiled. Where it says the creature picks them off one by one. It's just like, oh,
Yeah, but
okay.
in what order are they going to die? It's like Alien.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to go
And
next.
will there be a survivor?
Yeah,
You know?
there you go.
Do they stop it before it kills all of them? You don't know.
I
All
guess.
right.
I mean, yeah, I never heard of it, so I'm kind of interested. So
Yeah, no.
we'll
All
see.
right, never heard of it. I almost forgot. Let me look at where you can find the movie.
Yes, please.
So the thing is on Amazon, DirecTV, Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Microsoft Store, Sony Store, Apple. Actually, it's not on Sony. I lied. I apologize. It's not on Sony. But it is on all those other places as well. Probably the place that I'm going to get, or I'm going to watch it is probably on Amazon.
Who
Um,
Is
if
it
you
Amazon
want to-
Prime, or do you have to rent it through Amazon?
Let's find out.
I'm
Looks
either way, I'm
like,
watching it on Amazon.
looks like it's
so.
Watch with Stars subscription, so it's not free on Amazon.
I have Star subscription.
Wow, there you go.
There you go.
Obviously, there's also Blu-ray and DVD. I don't know if there is a difference between newer versions of this movie, like they did with The Evil Dead. So that's something that you guys have to look into yourselves, depending on which version you watch. But I'm pretty sure this is one that has a consistent single version of the movie that's across
I
all.
think there's just one. Yeah, from '82.
Because that is a thing that we might get into later with Star Wars and stuff like that. Whether things that people suggest, because there's so many different versions of the movies out there. So we want to be consistent with them. But I think this one is one of those ones that they didn't touch, with like modern technology, unlike the Evil Dead. Okay. So yeah, if you want to suggest your movie and get onto the next fan vote, make sure you do that now. Just comment on this episode of the podcast, or you can send us an email at ff.filmfreaks@gmail.com. Anyone else have anything they want to say before we skedaddle?
Nope.
No.
All right. Well, I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I've been here with...
Grady Waffle.
Animation.
Coco Gamer.
And we are Film Freaks with a Z. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.